This time of year is so hard when you're struggling to have a family. It can feel like your whole life is a trigger, from Christmas parties to Santa photos to happy families, everywhere you turn. And it just reminds you that you're not where you hoped you would be. And that's the thing with infertility. It's not just the heartache of struggling to conceive every month. It is the loss of the future you had planned. And the holiday season is the biggest reminder of all. On today's episode, I sit down with special guest Naomi Woolfson, who is a trauma-trained therapist specialising in supporting women who are trying to conceive. We talk about managing triggers at this time of the year and all the ways that you can support yourself through. Welcome to Your Journey to Fertility. This is the podcast that blends both science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Here each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so you can stop stressing that you'll never have a baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is the last podcast episode of the year. I mean, don't worry, it's only going to be a 2-week break before we're back again. But I'm just looking back at all of the amazing guests we've had and all of the ideas that, I've come up with for different solo episodes over the last 12 months. And I'm so proud of where the podcast is. And I absolutely just love hearing your stories and your feedback and everything that you have shared with me throughout this year. So biggest thank you for being here on this journey with me as well. And I thought it was timely to have an episode about dealing with the myriad of emotions at this time of the year when you're trying to conceive. We all know that the holidays can be tough, blah, blah, blah. But what can you actually do about it? And how can you make your life easier at this time? My guest today is Naomi Woolfson. She's from Embrace Fertility. Naomi is a trauma-informed therapist and she specializes in supporting women emotionally and energetically to conceive, carry, and birth the babies they long to hold. She works with clients from all around the world in a one-to-one capacity, and she also runs the mind-body group program called the Embrace Fertility Program. And she is also the host of the Embrace Fertility podcast. Naomi went through 4 years of infertility herself as well, through countless IUI cycles, IVF, a lot of anxiety, surgery, miscarriage, you name it. But she eventually conceived both of her children naturally. This is such a lovely conversation, and there is so much to take home from this one. Naomi is trained in so many different modalities, including hypnotherapy, and you'll have to put up with me asking her some stupid questions about that and asking whether it's like the movies and does she make people walk around clucking like a chicken. But no, it turns out that is not what hypnotherapy is about. But she explains it beautifully. And there is so much that you can take from this episode. And this is the sort of thing that I wish I'd had around Christmas when I was trying to conceive. So I hope that it helps you too. Here's Naomi. Naomi, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to connect with you today. I feel like we have been trying to do this for a long time and the stars have finally aligned. And so big welcome. Can we start by learning a little bit about you and the work that you do?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. So I'm a fertility hypnotherapist. I went through my own infertility journey. I was diagnosed with endometriosis as a teenager and told I would probably need IVF to conceive, but obviously hoped that wouldn't be the case. Got married, started trying. Nothing happened. We ended up going through 4 rounds of fertility treatment before having both of our kids naturally. And along the way, suffered with a lot of anxiety and depression due to trying to conceive and going through unsuccessful cycles. So started getting interested. I'd always been interested in the mind-body link, but really diving into what can I be doing to support my fertility. And it started off being, what can I do to overcome or manage the anxiety? And then that developed and grew and led to me leaving my job in interiors and retraining as a therapist, and was actually supporting people while I was going through IVF myself, and was supporting a lot of people to have success in their own journeys. And then ended up having a miscarriage after our last round of fertility treatment, and just going, right, that is it. I'm taking a break from treatment. I just can't keep doing this. I'm taking a break. And yes, got pregnant naturally, and then got pregnant naturally again on the first try 2 years later with my daughter.
Wow, what a journey. My goodness. Can you tell us a little bit more about hypnotherapy? Like, what is it? I think when people think about it, it comes to mind, people walking around like chickens on stage, just being told that their mind has been hacked by someone else, which is not the case. So can you tell us a little bit about what the work actually involves?
Yeah, so the best way to think about it is, so like you said, a lot of people think, oh, being hypnotized is something we do. But in a way, as a hypnotherapist, I'm helping you unhypnotize yourself. So it's like you are already in a hypnotized state of believing things that aren't true, believing things that are not supportive to you. So for an example, when you're trying to conceive, if you have the belief, my body is broken and this will probably never happen to me, that is then obviously impacting your day-to-day well-being, your happiness levels, but will also be impacting the decisions that you make. So if you have a deep-seated belief of it's probably never going to work for you, you may not go for that next treatment. You may not be following the diet that would be helpful. You may not be doing your fertility yoga. You may make the decision, well, it's not going to work anyway, so I won't bother doing the things that I know could probably help me. So I help people to become dehypnotized, the beliefs that are not serving them. And then it's like we're uncovering the beliefs that aren't helping you, dissolving them, and then reinstalling new healthy beliefs. But this is very much, I'm guiding you to do this rather than me doing it for you. And then we're literally looking at you feeling differently, thinking differently, having like a different blueprint of the beliefs that you're referencing when you're then making decisions. So if you're coming from a place of, I'm going to do all I can to support my mind and body, you're going to be showing up in a totally different way.
Mm-hmm. That is so interesting. And I've had a lot of experience with hypnotherapy and found it enormously helpful. But that's the first time I've heard someone explain it in the way that what you're actually doing is dehypnotizing yourself and coming out of this just constant programming that we are operating under, right? I'm too old. I've missed my chance. It's not going to happen for me. All of these stories that we tell ourselves. I really love that idea of kind of just waking up to what's possible instead, isn't it? What a wonderful way of explaining that. Thank you. Where would you say most of the clients that come to you are at when they come and seek treatment, and what are some of these stories that they're telling themselves and some of the beliefs that they have?
So a lot of the ones, like the ones you've just mentioned, like feeling like it's their fault. So maybe if they're older, feeling like I should have started trying sooner. And a lot of the case, they couldn't have because they hadn't met their partner, or it just wasn't the right time, or they financially couldn't do treatment at that time. There's very good reasons why we may, for while we're trying where we are. Sometimes that does come down to fear. So people will come to me when maybe they're preparing to go into treatment. Sometimes it can be a fear of needles, fear of doctors, a fear of the actual, egg collection surgery itself. Other times it would be that people feel that there is something emotionally, energetically holding me back. So if there's maybe been past trauma, if there's been like a diagnosis, like for myself, endometriosis, I had a very dysfunctional relationship with my body, that I did see my body as broken because from a teen, it felt like my body is different to other people's. It's given me a lot of pain. It's had a negative impact on my life, from my teens. And so I had to unpick all of that. And that can be the work I'm doing with people, is to see your body as fertile instead of as infertile, seeing your body as being able to do this, even though it hasn't done it yet, that doesn't mean that it can't. Especially in my case, it was 46 months of nothing, or miscarriage, failed cycles, failed fertility treatments, pregnancy, and then the very next month after that, so obviously stopped trying to conceive because I was pregnant, then breastfeeding. The very first month I tried again, conceived. So statistically, I had 45 months of nothing, then 2 months with positive pregnancy tests. And so statistically, if you look at that, you're like, well, obviously I'm not infertile. I'm incredibly fertile because, month after month. But obviously all of that came before was what I was then unpicking, as each month that goes past, you start to tell yourself, it's never going to happen. Like, what is wrong with me? Is this my fault? Have I done something? Am I not doing something? We try and unpick it all.
Oh, isn't that so true? And the longer it goes on, the more you start to believe all of these things that you have been telling yourself, or the doctors have inadvertently told you, or, just these flippant comments that people make where they're not trying to upset you, but it is so hard. And why we wanted to do this podcast today at this time of the year was to really help people work through how difficult the holidays can be at the end of the year. And so when you are on this journey month after month, year after year, my goodness, Naomi, 46 months, like that's just, it's too much, right? And so many people, I'm sure, that are listening to this can relate to that. You are triggered at every corner, aren't you? It's everything. There are pregnant women everywhere. There are, especially this time of year, there are so many beautiful images of happy families, and everything that you want is around you, but you don't have it. Can we talk a little bit about triggers? What do you think a trigger is, and why are they so all-consuming when you're trying to conceive?
So a trigger is when we sense something. So something comes into us from one of our five senses. So we either see something, we hear something, or we can think a thought, and that can then trigger a negative or positive experience in our bodies. But there will always be a thought process that happens before we experience the emotion. So we might see, a family going and meeting Father Christmas and having a beautiful, baby photo shoot. We may see that. And immediately in our body, our heart feels tight. We feel a bit panicky. We feel like we want to turn away. And so we're literally being triggered by what we're seeing, what we're bringing in. But what's happening in our mind is you're seeing that family. You're thinking, oh my God, that's what I want. I thought I'd have that by now. That should be me. Why them, not me? Is it my fault? Am I too old? Is this going to happen? All of this happens in a split second. And that is what is then creating the physical reaction in your body, which can feel so painful. And that's what we can work with. So when I first started learning about mindfulness and hypnosis and emotional freedom techniques, I started practicing them to I was like, oh, if I could just use mindfulness to switch off my brain, I could just literally switch it off, have a little rest. That's what I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, that is not what happens. But what we can do is learn how to work with our thoughts so we can stop that train of negative and painful thinking by recognizing it, bringing it to light, being aware of what's happening in our mind. And being aware that when we're seeing something we want and we're turning away, it's like we're literally shutting ourselves off from what we want. What we actually want is to turn towards that and be able to say, yes, please. That is what I want. And if we can see what we want as like the universe or life giving us an invitation, it's like, oh, is this what you wanted? Like on Instagram when you accidentally hover over the advert for like the Christmas watercolors. So now 85 different paint companies are like, is this what you want? You want iridescent paints. You want a workshop on how to do. And I'm like, oh God, I just hovered. This is what the universe can be. It can be like, here's a family, here's a family, here's a, is this what you want? Is this? And if you turn away and you're like, oh, no, I don't want that energetically. And sometimes we need to do this. We have to protect ourselves. You have to learn we never want to shut our emotions down. This is why my business is called Embrace Fertility. We want to embrace all the emotions, even the ones that are very painful. But if we can lean into it, feel it, and go, well, why is this so triggering? Why am I being triggered right now? Well, it's because I'm feeling I'll never get that. What if I can lean into, that is what I want? And for me, a really strong phrase was, I can't want this so badly if it's not meant for me. It's so painful when I think about not having this, that doesn't make any sense in my world if that never gets to be mine. And that for me was really powerful, because I was like, if I want it this much, like, one, I'm prepared to go to the ends of the earth to make this happen. Like, I would do the treatments, I would do the mind body work, I would do what I need to do. But it can't, like, it just can't be possible if I want it that much for it not to be mine. So it was like this kind of foot in the door of, yes, this hurts, but I want that. Yes, please. Come on.
I love that so much. I found that a really hard thing to get my head around when I was struggling to have my own family. You know, this idea of you can't perceive something that isn't possible for you. And I truly believe that. And, you know, I think studies will show us now that we only perceive, is it 5% or less of our actual surroundings. Our conscious mind is aware of such a small amount of the world and what is possible. So if you can conceive of something you want in such a tangible way, it is absolutely meant for you. And I don't think that you would have that desire if it wasn't. I do believe that. So thank you for sharing. Can I talk a little bit more about the emotional side of things and when you are triggered? And it's this horrible combination, isn't it, of I want to be happy for that person, especially if it's a friend or a family member, but I'm just not. Maybe there's some happiness for that person, but there is just so much disappointment and sadness for myself. And then there's so many dark places that your mind goes through, and the guilt and the shame that comes along with that as well. And it's so hard to explain to someone if they haven't been through it, the myriad of emotions that you have to sit with on a daily basis. So at this time of the year, when all of that is coming at you, how do we even start to unpack this? So we know we're going to events that are going to be triggering. We're going out to shops where it's happy families lining up to see Santa, etc. How do we start to get ourselves into a better space?
So I think the first thing is to realize that it's totally normal and okay to feel jealous as hell. And it's totally fine. And I think especially if someone is exploring the mind-body link and manifesting and wanting to attract into their life what they want, they feel like, oh my God, if I have any negative thoughts, I think, oh my God, that's going to like come back on me. So the first thing to say is like, it's completely normal. And again, embrace it. Fully own the fact that it hurts like hell, but know why it hurts like hell. It's not that you don't want it for your friend or your family member, but you want it as well. And so sometimes with jealousy, it's envy. So with jealousy, we want what someone else has, whereas with envy, we want it as well. So not separate to them. And especially when we're surrounded by it at the moment, it's sort of creating an emotional buffer for yourself. So I always say to this with people that are invited to baby showers, for example, before making that decision, if it's right for you to go or not, know that you can do things in advance to literally create this kind of like protective bubble around yourself to go. The first thing is to really feel your emotions in private or in a safe space with someone who possibly isn't that pregnant friend. So someone else who you're not going to feel bad for letting it all out, maybe not to that friend, because you obviously sort of like there's a conflict there. But if she's your best friend, definitely do it, because it's like you can support her happiness, she can support your sadness. But maybe this is where the space of fertility support groups are wonderful, or having a fertility therapist where you can go and just say all the stuff that maybe you wouldn't even say to your partner, because you're like, I feel like a terrible person, but and really just let rip, feel it. Because when we feel emotions, they're coming up and out. We're releasing them from our body, but you have to fully feel it in order for that to happen. Then prepare and go, well, what's my emotional tolerance? Like, how much, if you're already like feel on the brink and you're on the edge of everything crumbling, we're going to a baby shower or like the Christmas party where everyone else is taking their kids. is not the time. But if you can build yourself up and have that resilience, go, you know what, I'm going to go for 30 minutes. I'm going to allow myself to go to the bathroom whenever I need and do some breathing techniques or emotional freedom techniques. So a fantastic one is just to tap on the back of your hand. So where the valley is between your little finger and your ring finger. This here, where there's like an indent, rubbing there or tapping with your fingertips, just quite lightly so you can feel it, but you're not, hammering on your hand. It's very soothing. This is known as the fear point in EFT, and it can bring our bodies out of stress response. So when we feel ourselves, feel the emotions like starting to rise up, just take ourselves away for a few minutes, do some tapping, calm ourselves, and say to ourselves as well, like, I'm going to allow myself to feel this when I get home later on, rather than right here. And so you can then go, you could do some tapping, you could do some journaling around how you feel to really get in touch with it and let it out.
Do you think it's possible to get to the point where you're not triggered by these events when you're going through it? I don't think I quite got to that point. I think I got better at it, and I had to really pick and choose who I gave my time to and what events or what people I hung around with. But do you think it's possible to get to that stage?
Yes, I've actually had a client in the Embrace Fertility method. She was incredibly triggered. She was at the stage in her life where all of her friends were getting pregnant. They were quite a large friendship group, and one after the other, popping out the babies, and then they started popping out the second babies. And then the third round of babies for a couple of the ladies. And she was like, I can actually just need to separate myself now from this because it was too much. But obviously, this was her friendship group. And so all the events, all the birthdays, all the milestones, she was then separate to. So through the work in the Embrace Fertility method, she actually got to the stage of being able to plan a baby shower for this group, actually host it, have everyone there. There was a lot of like prep and support within the Embrace circle before this time. And there was a lot of discussion on, is this the best thing for you? She's actually going through a surrogacy journey now. And so this was going on alongside very big decisions, her final IVF cycles before then making that, there's a very big time. But she felt that actually doing this for her friend and being there for this group and showing up in that way was right for her then at that time, because she'd come to this place of, I know I'm meant to be a mother. Like, this is what I really want. We're going to take onto this next step and try surrogacy. That's where we're going. And that can be separate to what's happening for my friend over here.
And it's such a relief, isn't it? It's, you're such a peaceful place when you can genuinely be happy and be around people without being triggered. But my goodness, it takes a lot of work to get there. Yeah. You touched a little bit before on some of these tools that you use with your clients. So obviously hypnosis, tell me, is that something that we can do ourselves? You mentioned there was tapping that you use with emotional freedom technique. What are some of the things that people can really employ on their own to help them with this stage?
The first thing I'd recommend is, so when you come onto my website, you can join my mailing list and get the 3-minute reset MP3 for free when you join. And this is a teeny tiny, it's like 3 minutes, 20-second MP3. And in this, I've included hypnosis, mindfulness, neurolinguistic programming, CBT, and acupressure points. And it's like I've got all the techniques and condensed them down. And the reason why it's just over 3 minutes is we can go into stress response like that in a split second in order to keep ourselves safe. But to come out of stress response and back into rest, digest, heal, and reproduce states, our like calm state, takes 3 minutes. So the MP3 literally guides you. We start off with a technique which we could all practice right now. So we just take your fists and scrunch them into really, really tight balls, as tight as they can. And then really slowly release and relax them. and just spread your fingers out wide and then just tip your fingers, as much as feels comfortable back. And then do that another couple of times. So really tight and then releasing and releasing, relaxing, letting go. And we do this at the beginning of the MP3 as a metaphor for releasing and relaxing the muscles throughout our body. Because sometimes we're holding on so tightly to everything. And when we talk about letting go, sometimes we feel like we're trying to throw it away. It's like we're holding on to it and we're literally trying, but we're not doing any releasing. We're just trying to lob it, the emotions, the feelings, the decisions we need to make. Whereas if we can kind of release and be holding something lightly, then it's easier for us to give ourselves that space. So the 3-minute MP3, really recommend grabbing that. There's emotional freedom technique is a type of tapping where it uses the same energy system as acupuncture, but instead of using needles, we're using our fingertips. So that's where we can tap on different points on our face, body, and hands to bring ourselves out of stress response into rest and relaxation. So in the show notes, I've got a tutorial video of that on YouTube. So people can check that out. And then I have my hypnosis tracks, which are designed to take you through each part of your cycle. So the first one, when you begin your period, is coping and comfort. And this one is all about just soothing your mind, soothing your body. Some of us need to relax our body in order for our mind to relax and follow. And sometimes some of us need to relax our mind first so our body can follow. So this MP3 approaches it from both ways. So whatever type of way you relax. And some of you might be listening going, I haven't been relaxed in months or maybe even years. I don't know what that is anymore. This is why it's fantastic to have. It's literally an MP3 you lay down. It guides you through. You don't need to do anything. You can just listen, because also I'm not just speaking to you. I'm speaking to your subconscious mind. So your mind can be chattering 1,000 to the dozen, which is why for some people, mindfulness and meditation just really doesn't work because their anxiety levels are too high. Whereas with hypnosis, you don't need to do anything. You just lie there and I'll be speaking to the subconscious mind. So you come to different levels of relaxation depending on the day, the time you're listening, what's going on for you. But you will feel that shift. And then there's MP3 for either natural cycle or going through treatments, which guides your body through conception and then during the 2-week wait. And the suggestions there are all about inviting and welcoming a baby in rather than demanding that they come now. Some hypnosis tracks can be like, I am pregnant, I am fertile, it's all happening now. Whereas if you imagine inviting a friend to dinner and you're like, you need to come for dinner and it needs to be tomorrow and I need you to show up at this time, that would be great. How much do you want to go hang out with that friend? You're like, what? That's a lot of pressure. Whereas if you're like, we're ready for you, we love you, like, come. Now is the time. That's the message you want to be putting out to your baby. It's like, we're all set. Like, now would be fantastic, but please come. It's an invitation.
That's such a good analogy. And what a beautiful toolbox of resources and everything. Naomi, we'll link all of those up in the show notes so people can jump in and grab what they need. Give yourself a little Christmas present. Thank you. That is so, so awesome. I don't know if you find this with a lot of the women that you work with, but I definitely came from this space and I see it in my students all the time. This idea of my life is going to be okay. I'll be okay. Everything will be fine just once I get that positive pregnancy test. And then I'll be okay. All of the stuff that I've been going through, all of the anxiety and the stress and the depression that I have put myself through. Well, you've not put yourself through it. Sorry, it has happened to you. We think that it's going to magically disappear as soon as we're pregnant. But that's not the way it works, sadly. So I think that it is really important to address a lot of these issues now, because otherwise we're going to carry them through pregnancy into our births and into motherhood, which is nowhere what we want. We don't want that experience at all for ourselves or for our babies. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important to address all of these things now to make your life a little bit easier? And does it actually help you fall pregnant more easily once you do?
Yeah, so the studies are fascinating when it comes to this. I was very much in that headspace of, it doesn't matter that I'm anxious, it doesn't matter that I'm going through this, because the second I get pregnant, it will be amazing, it will all lift. But actually what happens if you've been trying for a long time and you get pregnant, the worry shifts from will I ever to get pregnant to will I stay pregnant? And then especially if you've had a loss, you're then just counting down the days till the 6-week scan, 12-week scan, 20-week scan. Then you get to there and you start shifting it to, well, if I can just get through the birth. So you shift it again. Then you get through, if I can just get through the newborn stage. And before you know it, you're thinking about, if I can just get my kid to pass their driving test, move into their new house, like set themselves up with a nice partner. And you're like, I've just missed my whole life putting a flag in when I'm going to relax and when I'm going to be happy. And so actually, by bringing the focus to what can I do today to experience joy? What can I do today to feel happy? And when you're in anxiety and depression, that feels so far away from what's possible for you. And this is why there's this beautiful bridge with the technique. So this is why I always start with coping and comfort in all of my work. We want to embrace how you're feeling, feel it, release it with the clearing techniques, connect deeply with ourselves, and then move on to the creating and the welcoming in and the things that we want to do. So the studies show that stress and anxiety can impact ovulation. It can impact our mental well-being, therefore lead us to make decisions that do not support our fertility, like overeating, undereating, excessive exercise, not exercising, arguing with our partner, avoiding sex altogether because you can't stand the sight of them. All of these things can be that knock-on impact from stress. But then also if the studies show that if we've experienced depressive thoughts after an unsuccessful IVF round and go into IVF again, the success rates are lower. The stats on the experiences of couples going through IVF, the levels of anxiety, depression, stress, are all putting a dampener on success rates. Whereas the flip side studies show that by practicing mind-body techniques, we can actually double the chances of a successful pregnancy. And this is what I get really excited about, because a lot of people are like, oh, hypnosis is that kind of closing your eyes and making a wish. And I'm like, yes, and the studies show, like, so especially if you're actually using hypnosis tracks during IVF transfer, it's a fantastic study that was done actually, during the transfer with the embryologist there, planting transferring the embryo back in. By using hypnosis at that time was getting a double in implantation rates and a double in live birth rates. And this is amazing because that's just a few minutes of time. This isn't like a big, long, hour-long hypnotherapy session. This is utilizing a hypnosis track, which is why I recorded one, popped one in there for everyone. So really thinking about, this isn't toxic positivity. This isn't, I need to force myself to be happier, therefore I'll get pregnant quicker. This is looking at what do I need to do to process my emotions, really feel them, work through them, have a therapist, have a mind-body fertility support group, come to the yoga groups, like create that community around yourself of other like-minded women, have that circle. Because if you're just on your own, even if you have friends that have maybe been through it in the past that you can talk through, if they're not in the trenches now, you're still like, well, you're all right, you've got your kid now. Whereas actually speaking with others who are right there next to you, that power of women speaking with other women is amazing.
It's just one of those things where it took me far too long to realize this, but it just doesn't have to be that miserable and awful. It doesn't have to be. I mean, you can make it that way. No problem. Yeah. If you want to do it that way, fine. It might take you a lot longer. It might make your life a lot worse in the future. But I found it so fascinating that there were so many techniques available just to make your life easier at this time. And it didn't make the journey easy, and it didn't make things enjoyable every day. I mean, who wants to go through an IVF cycle that doesn't work? Like, don't be ridiculous. But the the ability to come back to some practices and make you realize that there is so much more to your life than just this journey of trying to conceive, and that it is a season. And sure, it's a much longer season than a lot of us would ever want it to be, but it will not last for the rest of your life. And it's so nice to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, even when you're in the midst of it. So thank you for sharing all of that as well. Naomi, this is such a beautiful conversation, and you have such a lovely voice, and I can just hear myself being hypnotized by listening to you. So I think everyone's going to be so excited to download all of your beautiful offerings and just give themselves a little bit of calm and peace over this holiday period. So where can people connect with you and learn a little bit more about you?
So I'm embracefertility.co.uk because I'm based in England. And so that's where you can go to download that free 3-minute MP3. And then you can go onto my store for all the information about the MP3s and the Embrace Fertility Method course that I offer. If someone's interested in working with me one-to-one, you can go onto my coaching page and there's an application form there. So I have a very limited number of spots available for one-to-one, but that I do have space at the moment, and I'm taking bookings now for January, February, March. Follow me, Embrace Fertility, on Instagram. That's the place to hang out. And please do come and chat to me. I love Instagram for actually being able to connect to people and chat to people. So do come and say hi and let me know what you thought of this episode.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much for everything. And wishing you and everyone else listening to this a very, very wonderful Christmas. So thank you. Thank you again for being here, not just today, but this whole year, and supporting the podcast, sending me your feedback, and just generally being the most awesome listeners ever. I appreciate you more than you know, and it has been such an honor to put these episodes together for you each week. And I cannot believe it is the end of 2024, but I have so much coming up for you in January already. We have so much planned, a massive announcement coming in the first week, so please stay tuned. If you have any requests for different topics or episodes or guests, please, I would love to hear them. Reach out to me. You can email, DM me anytime that you like. And from the very bottom of my heart, I am sending you all of my love this holiday season, and I can't wait to see you back in the new year. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace, to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in mind-body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't. The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.